From the beginning, I need to make myself perfectly clear. I'm not a man given over to fantasy. I have no vivid, uncontrollable imagination. If there was such a thing as an imagination meter, and it was attached to my brain, I doubt it would register at all. I don't drink unless a Diet Coke is considered a drink. I don't do drugs, and at the time this happened to me, there wasn't even the trace of Tylenol in my body. My sleep is not interrupted by wild dreams late at night. In fact, I try to abstain from pickles and cheese late at night. Now, the story I'm about to tell you, I don't tell you this story because I want to impress you. I don't tell you this story because I want to brag. And I don't tell you this story because I want your pity. I'm telling you this story because if the same thing happens to you that happened to me, well, you might just know what to do. All men have their weaknesses. So do I. And it was in a state of weakness that I found myself sitting on a bench at the mall outside a ladies' shop, while inside the shop my wife was trying on every garment in the place. Every time she wanted my opinion, which in code means when she wanted to know what she should not select, she would send my daughter out to get me, and I'd leave that peace and quiet of my bench, and I'd wander into the ladies' shop, and the conversation goes something like this. What do you think? Well, it looks fine. Are you sure? Oh, sure, I'm sure. It looks mighty good. She'd do her figure eights in front of the mirror and she'd mutter something like, maybe the colors are a little dull. Or maybe the colors aren't really bright enough. I thought you liked it. I do like it. I mean, I like it. I mean, I like it if you like it. I like it. I'd go back out to the peace and the quiet of my bench, and she'd go back into the dressing room. Now, I know you're thinking, well, I've sure gotten off course from the story I was about to tell, but I want to tell you that I really haven't. I just wanted you to understand where I was and what was happening to me when my weakness overcame me. On one of these occasions, I went back out to that bench after giving my opinion, and there, sitting on the bench I'd previously occupied, was a little man. Small of size, short of stature, wearing a bright green coat with a bright green hat of the same color with a red band around it, and he had the brightest red hair I'd ever seen for an old man. He was carrying a walking cane and had funny carvings on it, and in his eyes, though they were dark as the night, they twinkled as if in each of them had been placed a miniature star. And wanting to be polite, because Southern men are polite, I reached out my hand and I said, Smith's my name. Olay is mine. Potatoes! I blurted out. Now I'm totally embarrassed because blurting out the word potatoes, I had to explain to the gentleman that I had been sitting on that very same bench for such a long time that I'd got incredibly hungry. And in the mere suggestion of his name, Olay, I love Lay's potato chips, and I just thought he was the Irish branch of the family. I said, potatoes, please. Sliced, thin, fried, crisp, salt and peppered. or baked till steaming and smothered in butter, mashed, mutilated, minced, diced, chopped, sliced, baked, boiled, potatoes, baked. Potatoes, please, I said. The topping's not important. And then, well, looking back on it now, I really should be surprised that the old man stamped his foot, clapped his hands, shook his cane, and said, "Touch my cane and potatoes it will be." The first thing I did was to look about to make sure no one thought I was trying to rob some old man's cane. And I reached out my hand, and with the tip of my fingers I touched his cane. And then he began to say, "If me hair is red and me hat is green, if we lambs are led and sunsets are seen, then give this young man his heart's desire, and may his abundance never tire." Now, I had closed my eyes at the sound of his loud voice getting louder and more shrill. And I wondered what in heaven's name had caused me to be in a situation like this. When suddenly I realized my fingers no longer touched the wood of his cane. I looked, and to my surprise, the little man was gone. About the same time, out of the ladies' shop came my wife and daughter, and on one arm was a garment bag. On the other arm, a bag of potatoes. "They're giving them away with each purchase," my wife explained. Strange, I thought. Quite peculiar. A little extraordinary. But at that time, I didn't think that my wife's sudden acquisition and the little man had anything in common. Home would we go, husband, wife, and child. And at the door of our house was a bag of potatoes. Neighbors left them, I surmised. And then it really began to happen. Everywhere we went, everyone we saw began to give us potatoes. Friends, acquaintances, even perfect strangers began to leave potatoes at the house or whenever we met. The paper boy left a potato with the paper each morning. My check was made out to Kroger so I could buy more potatoes. My wife became deranged. My daughter was dumbfounded. My dog was dismayed. And the cat, I'm being honest with you now, the cat was disbelieving. We ate them anyhow, anyway. We had them sliced thin, salt and peppered. We had them baked to steaming, smothered in butter. We had them mashed, mutilated, minced. We had them sliced, diced, chopped. We had them baked, broiled, boiled. We had them whole, half, quartered, with every topping imaginable, anyway, anyhow. Now I know why I'm even telling you this tale. If you should meet a wee little man whose hat is green and hair is bright red and wearing a coat of the same color, and he's got a walking stick with funny carvings on it, and don't forget the twinkle in his eye. And in a moment of weakness, you utter the word potatoes. I hope and pray by all that is holy that you at least have sense enough to say, peeled, please.